Hello dear readers, welcome back to Sandra is Booked, where we talk all things books and bookish and have reading vlogs and just have a fun time reading and also suffering depending on the book. I had my first original thought in a decade last week upon the release of Sally Rooney's, Sally Rooney, our queen, our lord, our savior, our social, conscious, emotional writer of our century. Yes, I am not exaggerating. A lot of people have been moved by Sally Rooney's works, including myself. So I had my first original thought, and I said to myself, I see a lot of videos of big booktubers that I love and literally am obsessed with. I'm like, okay, I see UnCarly and I see Jack Edwards and they're like doing these videos about celebrity, and I said to myself, they haven't done a video on Sally Rooney's favorite books. Not that I know of, because I've watched all of their videos, and I'm like, I would love to see a video like that. And I went and I tried to, YouTube it, Google it, and I didn't find anything. I did find an article by The Cut that was published in 2019. I will leave it linked down below, interviewing Sally Rooney, and she explains what are the 3 most fundamental books that have shaped her as a reader, as a writer. And I was really inspired because actually all books that I've seen on that list, that very clear and concise list, are books that I had on my shelf and that I was personally excited to read, and so it gave me that little boost and motivation to read them, and that's what I do in this reading vlog. So in this vlog, I have 3 books that I took out of that article, and the thing is, a few days ago, right after the release of her new book, I saw that bookshop.org posted a full list of all the books that she recommended, and I'm just sitting here like, I've done it first. I've done the research first. I've done the video and the reading first. Please guys, please watch my video, because now it's probably going to be a big phenomenon and everyone's going to start doing this reading vlog. But you know what? I'm very excited actually, because I was in a position where I was like, I haven't seen anyone do this, and now I'm doing it, and I hope that other people will enjoy this. But now it's going to be even more enjoyable for me to see other people's video and other people's take on Sally Rooney's books. Without further ado, I will present to you the 3 books that I'm talking about. First, we have The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. And I have seen this recommended by my other favorite author, which is Stephanie Danler, and I've wanted to read this year. And so when I saw that Sally Rooney was deeply affected by this book, I'm like, oh my god, I need to read it. And yeah, I'm so excited and I'm so happy that I get to pick it up earlier than I anticipated. Then we have another book that I have on my shelf and that I was super excited to pick up, and it's How a Person Should Be by Sheila Heti. And I believe Sheila Heti is a Canadian author, and I have read her book Motherhood, but I wanted really to start with this one for some reason because the title seems very philosophical, very deep-rooting thinking about how should a person be? Like, actually, how are we beings, and how are we acting the way that we act, and how are we all so different? I was really intrigued, and I was actually kind of surprised to see that on the list, but also very elated. So that's the second book. And this other book will not come as a surprise to you if you've read Sally Rooney's books and you've seen that, all that discussion around social and social class and class consciousness in her books. And that's why we have here The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Engels, Friedrich Engels, my bad. And yeah, so I was super interested because obviously I've seen some parts of the Communist Manifesto while in university. I studied literature, but I also had class in philosophy, in sociology and all that. So I'm really interested to read all of these 3 books and to see exactly what she drew inspiration from, what these books had to tell her and had to inspire her and move her. I'm interested as a reader, but also as a writer, to see how someone like Sally Rooney can deeply craft her characters and deeply craft character-based stories that are so impactful and that have literally touched and become like a social phenomenon for us readers and for us writers now in this current time. So I'm very, very interested because her writing style is very unique. Her depictions of social class and of relationships and of character and of, you know, the essence of being is super unique. And honestly, I know it's not for everyone, but for me personally, I really resonate with it, and I know a lot of other people have too. And so far, I can tell you that all of these books have that essence of the artist and the social class and the need for consciousness, the need for knowledge. So that's what I find really, really interesting so far in this reading adventure of the 3 books that Sally Rooney recommended in the article of The Cut. So bookshop.org, I have beat you to it, and I have beat everyone else to it, but you know what? It's not a competition, it's not a race. If anything, I'm super happy that other people will start looking into this and looking into these great literature that Sally Rooney has recommended.
Socialism and communism were vague and threatening concepts, especially communism, which had developed a strong association with the working.
I'm gonna do it. I'm going to read the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. It's actually much shorter than I thought it would be, so that's pretty interesting. There's some like images in this one, so that's kind of cool, like graphic images and stuff. Not that the images are graphic, but like they're like in a graphical form, but they're not graphic, they're like PG-13. So anyways, yeah, I will be reading this and then giving you my impressions and thoughts, and I will see how that relates to a little bit of Sally Rooney's own works, because she obviously had a lot of inspiration from that, and she obviously talks a lot about class and society in her books. So I'm super interested. Maybe it will make me a more conscious writer as well when I write about class and society in my books. So we'll see what happens. I never sit outside here, especially not in the backyard, like in the middle of our backyard. It's not even the middle because like our fences are pretty open. So I'm pretty sure all of my neighbors right now, if they see me from their window or their patio, are just like judging me and probably think I lost my marbles, because I'm usually inside the house or on our patio. So I'm really like that antisocial neighbor. I know I should be better at that, but you know, it is what it is. I'm the only like young one on our street, so with that comes already some stigma. So I just keep to my own. I be peaceful, I don't like make noise or chaos, and I just, you know, be friendly when I can. But yeah, I'm just gonna try to put myself out there more and like read in nature more. Okay, we have the book by Sheila Heti, which is How Should a Person Be, and I'm really interested in reading this. I didn't expect this to be as thick as it is, but it seems like it will be like a quick, engaging read. So I will read this. I have her other book, Motherhood, and I'm really excited to read that one. I think she's a Canadian author, but I could be wrong. Thanks, Sally Rooney. Thanks for that. I'll start reading this. I'm wearing my Read the North shirt in case you forgot that you should read the North, and as in Canadian authors like Sheila Heti, I was right. So just in case you didn't know that, you should read the North and explore Canada. PSA, because every time I read this shirt, I feel like I should like say that and, you know, support Canadian writers and authors, because we don't get enough rec in my opinion. So please do that and support diversified voices, please. And thank you, and you will see that they are amazing. Guys, this book was so good. It follows Sheila, as in like Sheila Heti. I don't know if it's really her or if it's like a fictionalized autobiography. Basically, she sets out to write a play, and you know, she's in a transitional period where basically she divorced from her marriage of her husband of like 3 years, and you know, she's just trying to find herself. She's trying to live her own life to her own means and her own like decisions. And the funny thing is, I can see myself relating a lot to the character, especially when, you know, when you enter a relationship and you're in a relationship and suddenly you don't think for yourself anymore. You just go through the motions, and you know, you just follow someone else's, you know, life and schedule and etc. I really enjoy the realization, the coming to of like, you know, having one's own independence and like creating stuff for yourself and for the world as well. And then there's a lot of good, interesting talk about, you know, what is art. We have art as in a play, we have art as like, you know, writing, and then we have art as painting, because her friend is a painter and their mutual friend is also another painter. And I don't want to give too much away because this book is really good and it's more like character focused, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It was so good. The writing was so impactful. It's also set in Toronto, which is so exciting because obviously I live near Toronto. And yeah, I just highly recommend it. The author herself plays a lot with the form in this novel. So, you know, you have some sections that are actually written out like almost like a play form, which is really interesting, and it actually adds to the story. And it's very meta in that sense, where it's like there's a writer working on a play, and then you have a play in the novel itself. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I can see why Sally Rooney marked this as one of her favorite books, because it's really self-reflective in what is being an artist, what is like devoting your life into writing something good, to the point where, you know, the main character, she's always jumping things and she's always wanting to postpone or let go when things get hard. I think that has a great valuable message, especially for artists, people who like to write. I like to write. I'm a writer. I want to be published, and I can see myself in the past doing that a lot, where I would just abandon projects when they get too complicated, or when I don't feel like I'm the right person to write it, or I'm not like, you know, I'm not really going for it, although I know I can do it and I can shape the work as I want it to be, and I can put myself out there. So I think if you're a creative person or an artist, or you know, if you're just that type of person that likes to like live life creatively, and you know, that wants to take risks but you feel trapped, or you know, you feel like you have too many things tying you down, especially yourself, I would highly, highly recommend it. And Sally Rooney, I like, from here on out, whatever book she recommends, I will go and get it and buy it and read it and review it for you guys, because she has some impeccable taste. Okay, so I'm ready to finish the Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. It's so good. As always, Sally Rooney just loves her character studies. And yeah, I made this like oatmeal TikTok recipe. Like, I didn't have pumpkin puree or pumpkin spice, but I put like cinnamon and almond milk and etc. So it should be good. And this though is my kind of homemade pumpkin spice recipe. So it's not the best, but it's really good. It still reminds me of fall. So I'm excited to dive into everything. Welcome to Canada, midway through September, and it's blowing like crazy. So I just had that little pancake, but more like oat cake thing. It was so good. Now just imagine if I had pumpkin puree, it would be like pumpkin spice flavor. Oh my goodness. I highly recommend. If I can find a TikTok recipe, I'll put it underneath. If I can't find the recipe, let me just tell you what I put in. I put rolled oats, like a cup, like a pouch, and then I put a quarter cup of almond milk, which I had, half a teaspoon baking powder, 1 egg, half a teaspoon vanilla extract, and then I put a dash of cinnamon. I was not able to put maple syrup or pumpkin puree because I didn't have any. I have maple syrup, but I'm not trying to eat any sugar. And yeah, you just put that, I put that on a frying pan on the oven, and I put some coconut oil because I like to be healthy. And yeah, that's what came out, very fluffy. Oh, and you have to blend all the ingredients into a blender first, obviously. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, so now I'm gonna continue and finish Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. Why did I blank? And I'm having my homemade pumpkin spice coffee, which is actually really good. I'm very surprised. It tastes better. Oh my god, there's a bee that's haunting me, and I don't want to kill it because you shouldn't kill bees. But there's a lot of bees on my patio right now, and I don't know how long I'm gonna stay here because of the bees. But yeah, the pumpkin spice homemade is actually so much better with like instant coffee than like regular coffee. So yeah, I'm just living life right now, enjoying these Sally Rooney books because they're so effing good. I highly recommend, like, after this video, please go read them, especially like How a Person Should Be and the Portrait of a Lady, because so good. The Communist Manifesto, I mean, if you're curious, why not? It's very short, but it's not like something you would read like for fun, more like educational purposes. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. Okay, that's it. We are here now, finally, at the end of the reading vlog. I'm here to discuss some of my thoughts and my impressions. So let's just jump right into the Portrait of a Lady. I really love this book. I'm feeling quite emotional. I won't tell you why. And I just want to warn you, if you go and read the cut article, just skip the last paragraph because it talks about this book and it gives away a big spoiler. So I saw it, but it still impacted me regardless. And to talk about this book, I want to keep it as brief as possible because I feel like the less you know about it, the better it is. And anyways, it's more like a character-based story. So the story follows an American heiress. Her name is Isabel Archer, and thanks to her aunt, she actually comes to visit abroad in London. So from America to London, Isabel has always been, you know, like a homebody. She's always like loved reading and just imagining a world for herself, while her other two sisters, they married off and her mother died, which was, you know, the sister of the aunt. And then recently her father died. So now she has really like it's not like she doesn't have no ties, but she's pretty independent as a woman. She's pretty well off without being super rich either. And so she goes to London, and there she meets her cousin Ralph and her cousin's father, so her uncle. And both of these characters are really great characters as well. She meets their neighbor slash friend, who's a really wealthy lord. I don't remember his name, as in like I know his name, but I think I'm gonna butcher it, like Wilburton. Anyways, and then the story takes off from there. She gets a visit from one of her friends in America. Things start to unravel slowly as we discover that Isabel Archer really has a one-track mind. She has a one-track mind to judge and see as much as possible when in London and neighboring countries. She's a very smart and beautiful young woman, and she's very intriguing, and so she gets a lot of marriage proposals. She's very independent, so I won't spoil more than that. You need to read it for yourself because the character study is amazing. I'm almost surprised that it was written by a man. Is that wrong for me to say? I think I'm canceled. I think I just canceled myself, but at the same time, no, because it feels like a woman written by a woman, but it's more like, I don't know, it's so interesting. And it's also I need to mention this because obviously we're talking about Sally Rooney here. There's a lot of discussion about class and class revolution. There's a lot of discussion about, you know, what is being an American. You can see through this novel there are Americans that move to England, and then, you know, you have the trouble of identity. Who are you really from? What do you associate it? What is your patriotism? And so it's really interesting in that way because you see a lot of American characters going to England, and then there's like a change and a cross off of like emotions and feelings and thoughts and ideas and stereotypes. And it's actually really funny, and it's actually really interesting to see because I think that's just a reality of the world. And the author himself, Henry James, was British American, so I feel like he put a lot of that and he poured a lot of that into this novel as well. Anyways, I highly recommend. 5 out of 5. Go read it. Go read it, please. This is like one of the classics that I wish I read during my undergrad and graduate degree because I would have devoured it. I've literally annotated like every chapter. Anytime Isabel talked, I was like, you know what, this girl, she right, and I feel for her. And yeah, just go read it. So I think I need to talk about the Communist Manifesto. I want to talk about this very briefly. I find this read interesting in the fact of like its era and its historical context, because now we know more about communism and we know about socialism and obviously capitalism. Back then, communism held that one purpose, and they went with it in such an extreme manner where it's like they believe that two wrongs can make a right. I'm not here to critique the manifesto. I'm not trying to put any political opinions out here. I'm just saying it's pretty interesting to read it in our times. When I read things, I start to see connections. So with everything that I just read, I see the connections between, you know, identity, being an artist, being a person, be a patron, being, you know, being in revolutions and being in having ideas and theories and being sometimes an anarchist, you know, like there are so many ideas that are being shared between literature and everything that's being written. And obviously, like, we know that it's called intertextuality, but you know, these books that I just read here for this reading vlog don't have a specific intertextuality between them, but knowing that it's Sally Rooney, knowing that it's deep, you know, character studies and social class studies, for me, I'm like pretty much making my own set of like, you know, intertext. The other funny thing is last night I watched V for Vendetta, you know, the movie with Natalie Portman. First time I watched that movie, and that movie was released in 2005. And the movie itself, what happens in Britain, is actually set in 2020. And you know, on the one hand, it's so different from our 2020, and it's like, it feels very Big Brother 1984. And on the other hand, it's like really similar to what we are living through right now. There's, you know, an epidemic and no one knows who to trust, and the government's unreliable, and we're all like kind of like losing our heads a bit. And reading this manifesto really highlighted something to me. Sometimes people will believe in an idea that might change the world, and they want the world to change for the better. but the execution and the power dynamic, the power struggle that we have in our world, I believe will continue till the day that we all erase each other from this planet. Because it's just, you know, there's always a tug and war. I don't know how we could ever just be like sitting down and all agree on one thing. And that's not possible. Obviously, totalitarianism governments, those are bad. We all agree on that. However, it's still interesting to see that, like, you know, like in places in Canada and United States, we still need to like fight for our rights. Although we do believe that we are free and we have rights, and I'm not saying we don't. But anyways, I'm just gonna get lost and I don't want to get too political here. I just want to say that these 3 books were amazing. I highly recommend. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're gonna participate and read some of Sally Rooney's favorite books, because now there's a whole list up on bookshop.org. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know what kind of other videos or reading vlogs you want me to do. Do you want me to do another part 2 of Sally Rooney's favorite book? Do you want me to do another author? Do you want me to do a celebrity? Do you want me to just read one book by a specific author? Let me know. I'm super open to suggestions, and if you ever want to know more, there are links down below. There's my blog down below that I have, like, you know, book reviews and book recommendations. And for now, keep reading, my friends. Bye.